I'm a fan of this. I want to get your take, Billy. Because you're an industry guy. You're the dirt sheet guy and stuff like you give the news stuff. So literally nobody saw Charlotte coming back. Okay, and she can't. Like nobody reported that. Now, when as a fan, when you saw her come back, saw that spot, boom, boom, boom. Now, because you didn't know that was going to happen, like as a dirt sheet guy, were you upset, or as a fan, did you pop like I did because it was a complete surprise that had no spoilers, nobody had something like nobody saw this coming? What's your take on that?
Well, we talked about it last week, and I said that her return had been pushed back a couple of times. But yeah, I always lean towards I don't do this to be the number one dirt sheet guy. I do this because all the dirt sheet guys are wrong all the time. Right. And me doing this as a hobby is more accurate than all of them, just through not even a lot of contacts, just a handful of contacts in different places who I talk to on a weekly basis, and I'm able to do their jobs. It's their actual jobs better than they do. My job is lock betting. I've managed to turn a hobby into something that I'm better than the people that do it professionally, which is a big indictment of them. But I always preference being completely surprised by anything. During the Clash of the Castle show that I was going to, I asked not to be told if Drew was winning or not winning, because there was some debate going on about whether they were going to do something where there was an idea where Austin Theory would cash in and Drew McIntyre would pin Austin Theory, but the rules of the Money in a Bank would stay. Like Paul Heyman would find a legal loophole where the Money in a Bank only qualifies you to cash in for one title, and that's how they would have taken one belt back off Drew, so Roman's run would have continued. But they didn't do that idea. But whilst they were batting that around, I said, don't tell me what the final outcome is. I'm going to the show with my son. Don't tell me. I get enough stuff right that my listeners don't need it. We don't need everything. And I don't
think a lot of the listeners want the spoilers sometimes too. Like for that, like if you're going to a show, you don't want to know who's going to win. The long-term spoilers, when we can reverse engineer, hey, we talked about this 3-4 months ago and where they're going, and that can't. The perfect example. When you talked about, you were the only guy that was talking about Vince McMahon is going to wrestle at WrestleMania. And we're what are you talking about? Everybody's going what are you And so it happens. We're kind of surprised because nobody was talking about that except you. But I don't want to be spoiled. I don't want to know the finishes. I don't want to know the show. I don't, so go ahead.
I told you the finish for the documentary was Vince pinning Pat McAfee. I told you the actual thing that they were doing as well, not just going to wrestle. So, so yeah, I mean, this is the thing. And yeah, no, I'm always, when it comes to, business and contract people signing contracts, length of injuries, returns. Returns are different to that. Returns are different to wanting to know why something happened and what the booking explanation for it was. Maybe long-term plans. Is The Rock coming in? Is The Rock not coming in? That kind of thing. Yeah, I should know. But if it's something like somebody's coming in tonight and there's really no benefit from me reporting it, I think it works out a lot better. Same way with cash-ins. Money in the Bank's a new thing. Well, relatively. Well, I mean, we've had it since 2005, but it wasn't around when you guys were wrestling. I know you still try to wrestle, Disco, but yeah.
I'm turning bookies down, by the way.
So yeah, the money in the Bank is a new thing, and I never want to know if there's a cash in tonight or there's not a cash in tonight. A couple have been ruined for me, and same thing with the weird thing is with lock betting. The Royal Rumble winner becomes essential information because if there is a plus 700, plus 600 winner sitting there on the line, I need to know about it. So then it sort of crosses over into both jobs. So as much as as a fan, I don't want to know the Royal Rumble winner, when it affects my income and reputation that much, every year I do need to know the Royal Rumble winner. So wherever I can part and get away with it. So Charlotte coming back, there's no money in it for my clients. That you can't bet on her return. So yeah, obviously I want to be surprised. That's how.
That's what I would, because me and Conan were talking about, bro. Because you know the bro. All of the dirt sheet guys get heat. Because if they ever not get something right, or they don't mention something like, and everybody was like sitting there saying, like, "Oh, Billy said, Charlotte, that no." It's like, well, yeah, that's good because I would not have been spoiled from a good moment on TV that I was completely surprised at, which is like what I like as a fan. I don't want the weekly spoilers. I want long term. Right, yeah.
Her return. They were struggling to book her return. Like they cancelled it a few times. I mean
isn't it kind of fascinating that they kept that under wraps, that spot, because nobody reported that. Like nobody saw that coming. That was very interesting to me. That like in this day and age, with all the dirt sheet guys and all the wrestlers that have the dirt sheet guys on speed dial, like the spoil stuff. Like I was surprised that happened to like complete surprise. So it's like you don't see that a lot these days.
Who has the dirt sheet guys on speed dial? Do you think?
Tons of. I mean, come on, there's like, bro. It used to be in our locker room maybe 6 or 7 guys, but now probably like 20, 30 guys. Probably. I mean, in the locker. I mean, you can see them all.
Depending on what locker room you're in, I think in WWE, especially the higher up guys, there's a very like anti dirt sheet sentiment.
Yeah, well, Bruce, and yeah, of course.
Yeah, you're not.
But I'm talking about the talent.
Yeah, but you're not. It's even then you're not going to see a Seth Rollins or a Drew McIntyre or a Sheamus or a Matt Riddle talking to dirt sheets. It's not going to happen. Like they just won't. They're not that way inclined. Like you may get some of your lower down guys doing it. I don't know. Like I don't know exactly. I know at one point there was a problem when Jimmy Jacobs was there, and Jimmy Jacobs was friends with a lot of wrestlers, and they were finding out like the booking stuff. And Jimmy Jacobs was talking to Meltzer and Saturn, and that was an issue. So that's the main reason he was let go. He certainly wasn't let go for his creativity. So
because I was very when I went and worked at Impact, I was and it was funny too because I'd taken shots at Jimmy Jacobs like from years and years and years before for stuff like that, and he got hot at me, something. But we didn't have a relationship, So when I went to TNA and I was doing my spots at Impact and stuff and everything and all that, bro, he would like I would get the format of the show. I'd read the show. I was like, this is a very well written show. Like who's writing the show? Like Jimmy. Road Dogg
caught him out. Road Dogg thought it was him, and he said that we'll tell him something. And we won't tell anybody else, and it got out. Was because they
so that's his flaw. But I'm saying, as a writer and a wrestling writer, I was impressed. He gave when I was there to do my stuff, and Don Callis would come and like talk to me. Hey, look, we'd be on the same page, and Jimmy would give me my sheet, and I'd read the stuff like the verbiage he had for it. I was like, this is all fine. I don't need it like include any of my input, everything. This is stuff that I probably would have written and everything. So I thought I think he's a pretty good writer.
Bro, let me tell you, I worked in Impact, and Jimmy was very creative, very smart, knew how to write. And also from what I understand, he came up with the list of Jericho, and he came up with all that with Jericho and Kevin Owens.
Right.
And he was probably talking to the dirt sheets. I used to talk to Meltzer all the time. 80% of my conversation was what was going on in Mexico because he had no pipeline. Now he has a whole bunch of guys that talk to him. Everybody assumes it's me. Sometimes I feel like asking, who the told you this? Because it's not true. You're getting bad information, But so when I see that he gets bad information about Mexico, I don't think it's Meltzer himself. It's the person that's giving it to him. And sometimes you just got to trust people to give you the right information. And I would give him 20% WCW. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Like your relationship with Meltzer now, you've known the guy 30 years, right?
Right.
So, like, do you, like, when you read something, like you watch it, like, is your relationship with him, like you read some stuff that he says, writes, and it's not accurate. And you call him and say, and how often is like, he's looking for information and calls you.
If it has to do all the time, he always calls me to clarify stuff. He goes, did this happen? Did this happen like this? What's the story behind this? So he does call. He'll write me. He'll email me.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Dave do that with people that like Russo? Or
because he doesn't like Russo.
But that's kind of like
talk to people you don't like.
I'm aware of that, but you're
Glenn,
a journalist. You want to get there. Like if you're,
he doesn't like him, and he's not going to talk to him. You already know
Right.
how he is. These guys
Right.
are like snowflakes, you know.
right, right,
And so they're like, "Oh, you talk bad about me, therefore we can't talk or we can't be friends. You can't, bro." Meltzer's buried me on his thing before. He goes, what a terrible match Conan gave her. That wasn't, and I don't. Oh, I'm not ever going to
Right.
talk to you again.
right.
It was
I'm
a
not
bad
going to
match.
use you for a source of information.
Right.
I'm just
But
because
they think differently than us.
Right.
You know, they're
Absolutely,
very
yeah.
sensitive, and if you're not putting them over, they think you're the enemy.
Right.
Which is funny because he's in the same spot we are. I see him getting surly with people all the time. I go,
Right.
Dave, if you're on Twitter going off on all day being surly, which are actually kind of funny,
right.
you can't stand up against Disco? I mean, come on, give me a break.
And I'm not worse. I'm not even disrespectful to Twitter
Right,
trolls.
you're not the enemy, right?
It's like
They make you out to be worse than you really are.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
crazy, right?